Now when I pulled this car apart, I noticed that the windscreen on this side, up the top here, there was a gap between the edge of the glass and the rubber. You could actually push something through into the inside of the car. Now, I thought that could have been a couple of things. One is accident damage. Two, perhaps the glass was the wrong size, particularly seeing it was a replacement screen. The other possibility was there'd been an accident and the roof on this side had been pushed up a bit. Now, when I did the repairs to the A pillar, I found that there'd been some damage in there, and also looking at the door, and when I repaired the door frame itself, noticed that there was obviously damage to the door as well. So what I did was to look at the difference between the left and the right side of the car. In particular, I used the angle. I'll just try and push this down a bit. The angle of the hockey stick, sort of this angle in here. I'll just put that there. Okay. Now, I measured the angle this side to the other side, and what I found was that this side, up to about the top of this, I'll just put this on, it was about, let's put it about there, a bit less than that. Just, you might see the top of the edge of that. There was about a 5mm difference from the right hand side to the left hand side. So it looked as though this had been pushed in and hence that had been pushed up. Now, what I've done to overcome the difference was to push this out. Now, I've used a block of wood and an unusual large hammer or lump hammer. Not bashing it very hard, but trying to get the same angle of the car left to right. Now, in order to relieve some of the stress on the panel, I put a cut through here, through the hockey stick, and then knocked it up in here and to push it out. It didn't take a lot of effort to push that out. I mean, I wasn't hitting it hard, but as you tapped it with the wooden block, you'd notice that this cut would open up, which meant that this has been pushed out. So what I've now achieved is that the angle this side to that side is the same. That was the first thing I wanted to achieve. The second was to try and get the distance between the bottom of the window and the top of the window the same as it was on the right hand side of the car. So that's what the tape is for. So what I've got is a few datum points around the bottom and on the top. I've taken measurements from bottom to top, and when I did that before I made the alteration, there was about a 5mm increase in size of the opening on this side of the car, which would correspond to this being pushed in, that being pushed up. When I've knocked this out, it's brought those measurements back to the same as the right hand side of the car. So all in all, it appears now that the problem has been fixed. Looking down the side of the car, it now does look a lot straighter than it did before. In fact, it looks the same this side to the other side. As a final check, what I'm going to do is to get the glass and just rest it in position. I've got a bit of rubber there. It'll be a two-person job, and just make a final check to see what the gap is between the window and the body. Now I know from the rubber window surround that which I've bought a new one. The thickness of the rubber between the metal and the glass, the maximum thickness of the rubber is about 5 mil. So I know what gap I need. What I didn't want is have a situation where I can't get the window in. I know this has come down. The gap between the glass and the rubber should have been resolved. In other words, the glass will be inside the rubber rather than outside. But like all things, I really don't want to start welding this up, finishing the body, painting it up, try to put the window in and it doesn't fit. So it's just a general, I guess, a safety check to make sure I haven't overcorrected the problem. So I'll need a hand with that. I'll get someone to help me hold the glass in place, and I'll just see what the gaps are between the glass and the body to make sure that I've got enough to get the rubber in and that I've actually solved the problem. So I think I've fixed it. Haven't welded it up yet, but I want to make sure this is right before I go ahead and work on the reskinning of the doors. So really that's the next major job, but I certainly didn't want to do that with a problem with the windscreen pillar here, because that affects how not the door frame, but certainly the window frame on the door, how that would be positioned and so on. So I want to make sure that's all right before I proceed any further. Now I did the trial fit of the windscreen. It fits much better, much closer up here, and the measurements certainly confirm that it's closed up significantly. It's now equal to the other side. So what I'm about to do is to start to weld things back up. I'll make a weld along there and along the seam, and it's a bit of fabrication work I've got to do up there where the top of the hockey stick, I cut a piece out. It had a bit of rust in it, so it was better removed, and it made it easier to move the pillar. So I'll put a new piece in there as well. When that's done, then I can move on to this left-hand door. Well, I've finally got all the welding and brazing done. A bit longer than I thought. Mainly because I missed a few pieces that needed tacking together. Now the main cut there, that wasn't so much the problem. Up in here, putting a new piece in there, the piece wasn't a problem, but I realised that the two panels had split from the top down to about there. So I used a combination of spot welds and brazing to join those two panels together. Same problem up in the main windscreen area here. The two pieces of metal is separated, so I've used braze there to fill that. Now I noticed it was the same on the other side, so I put brazing in that as well. Now, I think I mentioned this before. When I straightened this up, the flange on the edge of the roof here, because it had all been pushed out, was above the gutter line, so I've had to tap that down, pardon me, and because I can't put spot welds, and I think they were spot welded on, I can see evidence of some spots further along the gutter. I've put some tacks on the outside there, so it shouldn't be a problem. This chrome piece should cover up most of that, so I'm not too worried about that. There was also a little crack in the corner here. I had to braze that up as well, so just a few extra pieces here and there, but it's now done. So back onto the door, this left-hand door. With the left-hand door, I've just put the frame in place. I've got it reasonably close to where it needs to be. There's sufficient gap at the front, probably equal gap at the back. The gap on the bottom to the sill is equal all the way along. The windscreen frame is close, but I haven't bothered to do any adjustment to that. It doesn't foul anything, which because I've changed the position of the post here, I thought it might hit there, but it doesn't. It's fine. I've noticed a few points in the flange where I need to make some small modifications, particularly down here where I've put a repair section in. Actually quite a large repair section in there. A little bit up in here, just the shape of the flange needs to lift slightly. And apart from that, a little bit up here, it's not too bad. So I'll take it off and make those adjustments and put it back on. Now, unlike the other side, I'll spend a bit more time with the frame on the car to try and get these flanges at least reasonably closely matched to the curve of the body. Now, having said that, I still need to probably fit this side panel a little bit more, which I'll do as well while I've got the door off. It's sitting out a little bit too proud at the top, so I need to tuck that in a bit more. So I'll try and improve the fit of that, make these changes to the flanges, and then I'll do another trial fit of the frame, and to see how those changes match the body. I'm just taking an initial look at the fit. Now, I've identified a couple of areas that I think need to be changed, and I just want to confirm that before I do any more work. So I'll just line this up. Now, I indicated there's an area here that needed to be changed. That's confirmed on the why it's fitting there. This corner here needs to come down more, and this needs to come out more, and certainly that needs to be adjusted. So the skin is basically confirming the changes I need to make. So I'll start with those, particularly on this end, and work from there. So just take this off. That's looking pretty good. I'll put it back on the car and see how that's fitting against the body. My aim is to capture the whole process of reskinning this time. The battery in the camera is fully charged, so I'll just let it run for a while before I stop and then recharge. The inner surface of the skin has been sprayed with both a high zinc weld-proof primer as well as a high zinc content silver overcoating, so it should stop any rust from recurring inside the skin. I've done the same inside the door frame itself. It's all been sprayed the same, so it's just a case now of putting things together and starting the skinning process. So the stage I'm up to, of course, is that I've already checked the frame against the body, and everything there seems to be now fairly close to what it should be. The flanges I've had to adjust slightly, and I've done that. So it's now a case of locking the skin to the frame, which I'll do with some clamps, which I've got here. I mentioned before the other door that I pull the inner frame up against this flange here and make sure it's tighter against that flange to give me more adjustment of the door. Just a section off the edge here, not too much, otherwise it won't be a neat mitre when this section's folded over. The first part of the skinning process, so I'm not worried about the fit here. I've got a little bit of adjustment to do here, some cuts to make. That's if the skin is in the right position. So I'll see how it fits on the car. Now I'm going to fold the seams down. They're only loosely folded at the moment. And this time I'm actually going to start on the bottom. The reason being is that because the frame and the skin are not welded together at this stage, the frame actually does move. So what I want to do is to clamp it on the bottom, and then working from the bottom start to clamp it all the way up. So I'll do the bottom, and this stage I'll do the hinge side. Once again, what I've noticed is that the frame moves side to side and up and down. So I want to make sure it's locked in the tight position on this side. So I'll start this, lock the frame so it doesn't ride up, and I'll start on the bottom here, and I'll work up the curve. And the reason for that is to clamp it down onto the frame and make sure it goes up evenly. If I start at the top, it may mean that the profile is not going to be maintained, but if I start at the bottom, it'll follow the profile of the frame and also the skin and work up. So that's what I'm about to do. Now I'm just going to have to cut the miters again, they're closing up. So I'll just turn the video off to save some storage capacity and do the cuts on both sides. Alright, it's crimped on. I need to do that one a bit more, perhaps. Just leave that for the moment before I try it on. The next thing to do is to do another trial fit. See what I need to do with the flanges, if any adjustments need to be made, if I've bent them out of shape. Hopefully I haven't. Looks like the corners might be just a little bit lifted, so I've got to adjust those, but other than that it looks alright, but I won't know till I put it back on the car. I've taken the protective coating off the panels. While I've fitted, it's a lot easier to see what's lined up. The panel is pretty close. Once again, I'll leave the final adjustment as with the other side until I've welded these panels in place. That's not welded in place, nor is the sill, but it's close. The fit a little bit better than the other side along the top there. Along the back, it's not too bad. Might be a little twist in the door, it's hard to say at this stage until I finish these other panels. The striker plate's not adjusted properly, but it's close. So all in all, that will do for the time being until I finish the rest of the panels. So it's looking quite nice. Looking at that, I could probably take that up a little bit. Might be down a fraction, but I'm not worried about that at this stage. I haven't welded the tops as with the other side. That's all going to be done. That'll be done as a final fit. So that's now complete. Just a small job I've got to do now. Let's turn the light around the other way. The dash top. I don't have to do anything with the dash top other than clean it up, but the brackets that go onto the hockey stick, these ones, I've got to probably remake that one, and a little one at the top that holds the bolt, so I'll set the position of the dash top, and then I'll weld these to suit. So just a couple of jobs before I forget them, and that will make the front end of the car complete in terms of repairs anyway. So just those couple of small jobs, and then I'll move behind the this rear wing, do the boot floor, which is all full of holes. So that should arrive next week, a new panel for that. But there's a lot of work to do around the rear end, so I'm gradually working towards the rear of the car.